I'm Tracy Austin, your host of the People Strategy Podcast. This show provides interviews with organizational leaders and ongoing coaching experiences that highlight elevating people in organizations through a people strategy roadmap. Welcome to the People Strategy Podcast. My name is Tracy Austin, and we are going to dive into the latest trends and best practices in talent management and organizational development. Join me as I chat with industry experts, HR leaders, and business innovators to uncover strategies that can elevate your people and your business. I want to thank Rob Grady for being a past guest on our show and really talking about the impact of culture and very specifically how culture leads to increase in sales. So if you have not listened to that episode, we will have that in the show notes. And today we are talking about the culture of growth, which ties right into the conversation that we had with Rob a couple of months ago. Our guest today is Matt Sunshine. Matt is valued by his colleagues and clients for his innovative thinking and ability to always stay ahead of the curve. And you're going to hear how Matt has done that through how he has created a culture of growth. And with that, Matt, will also share why he was attracted to the Center for Sales Strategies. So I also want to share some gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Jeremy from Rise 25 for this referral today. Of course, this episode is brought to you by Elevated Talent Consulting and very specifically the Team Retention Program. Within the Team Retention Program, we are working with people leaders and how to really elevate their teams as they are stepping into that management and shifting from being the doers to actually being the leaders and having their team do the doership going forward. So with that, I am so curious, Matt, how have you been able to support new leaders in your organization from shifting from what they thought was the job of doing into the real job of leading?
Yeah, it's always an interesting question. Typically, in many scenarios, when you're really, really good at what you do, the next logical thing is that you get promoted to take on more responsibility, which might be a completely different skill set needed, a completely different talent set needed to be successful there. And if you don't do that right, you actually could mess it up in both areas, right? You're removing someone from what they're really great at doing and putting them potentially into something that they're not so great at doing. So making sure that someone is has those leadership capabilities and that they have the right leadership mindset to have success is extremely important. So how do we do it? So what is our secret? What do we do? First of all, we spend a lot of time thinking about what does success look like in the role? What are some of the key characteristics that we're looking for? How does this person show empathy on a regular basis? Does this person look for ways to shine the light on somebody else, or are they the type of person that needs the light to be shown on them? And with that, we also stick to our core values. Right? Our core values are quality, integrity, and responsiveness. And does that person exemplify those? Or are they a struggle to do those? So that's what we look for. And then we reinforce the behaviors that we're looking for. So we do that through both recognition, training, and celebration. Not everything needs to be a celebration, but we do a lot of recognition. And so when it's going right, we're going to let people know, hey, that was great. You did an awesome job at that. Really like the way you did it. But we're also going to provide training on how you can be the best leader possible. How do you coach someone to their strengths? How do you make sure you're setting the right expectations? How do you know? So those types of things we put in place, and they're really important.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that you said at the very beginning is is this an individual that really is a people leader that's ready for that next step, or are they truly a project leader and really that coordination of a very specific area going really, really deep within that? And when we're creating those talent pathways, identifying, are we going to set them up to fail by having them be a people leader or not? And if they are ready for that people leader step, ensuring we have the support and the training and the coaching to really do that and to do that well. So thank you so much for naming that. And if you have individuals stepping into that people leader role and you're like, oh, that coach piece of it and that training piece of it, you can find that on our website at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. And so thank you, Matt, for sharing your insight into that and going off the cuff a little bit. And it ties directly into what our conversation is going to be today. And so, one of the things that you've done really well is attracting and growing a team. And you shared a little bit about how you've done that. But one of the things that was so interesting to me is what actually attracted you to, the Center for Sales Strategy and how you got there.
Yeah. So I've been here 18 years. And prior to coming here, I was a client of the Center for Sales Strategy for 10 years. So I've been close to CSS either as a client or as an employee or as an owner for nearly 30 years. So why did I get attracted to CSS in the beginning? So when I was leading sales departments, one of the things that I kind of observed is that I kind of had this gut feeling that we were accidentally good. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, why we were good at what we did. I used to just say, well, we have really good people, but how did we get those really good people? And what did we do to make sure that they were really good? And I wanted us to go from accidentally good to intentionally great. I wanted us to have a system and a process. I wanted us to bad expression, but eat our own dog food, right? I wanted us to be really good at what we did. And so I hired the Center for Sales Strategy to help us. And CSS helped us to install systems, to build process, to hire and select the very best people, and to coach and develop them to their maximum potential. And so after doing that for 10 years, when I had the opportunity to join CSS and join that team, it was a natural for me. It was like, this was what I was meant to do. And so that's why I went there and helped develop CSS over the last 18 years.
Amazing. And over the last 18 years, you took a very different strategy to growing CSS than was previously taken. I'm curious, what's changed over time?
Yeah, so CSS was founded by a gentleman named Steve Marks, who was a mentor of mine. And Steve was brilliant and had just such a great way about him. But Steve also he loved the business being a boutique business that worked in one vertical and really did a great job of super serving that customer base. And while we did experiment from time to time doing some other things, we really wanted just to super serve this one vertical, and that was where was our bread and butter. And in around 2010, about 4 years after I joined CSS, I went to Steve and I said, I think there's an opportunity to expand our business to add additional services, things that we were not necessarily known for, but that our current customer base would really appreciate. And I also said, I think there's also an opportunity to expand our customer base because of this, to pick up new customers at the same time. And Steve was awesome. And he said to me, I think you should do that. Do it. Go. Let's build a plan and go. And he gave me that freedom, that responsibility to grow. And we grew that portion of our business. And so when I had the opportunity, as Steve was retiring and the other managing partner was retiring, and I had the opportunity to buy a portion of CSS, one of the things that I said that was going to be my vision of the next 40 years, 50 years of this company was that we were going to take on a growth strategy. We were going to grow the organization significantly over my time as the leader.
Amazing. And you just said something that just popped out to me, and I want to rename it, as sometimes these things happen, right? And they just flow by in the flow of information. But you said the there was an alignment between I was given the freedom and the responsibility to create this. And so often we don't think of freedom and responsibility being two sides of the same coin. How is freedom and responsibility tied into growth?
Yeah, I think to me, they're essential, because it's one thing to say to somebody, yeah, do whatever you want to do, right? But if you say do whatever you want to do, there's a portion of that is almost like you're on your own.
Right.
Nobody's counting on you. And when at CSS, when we say to someone, you have the freedom to go and do something, like Steve said to me, you have the freedom to go do that. He also said, but you have the responsibility to do it. And so then there's like an ownership of it, right? Like it's not just something I want to go and do because I think it's a good idea, but the company's counting on me. Steve is counting on me to do it. So I think I use that exact same thing with when other people have ideas on things that we could do. It's like I want to let them know how much I appreciate the fact that they're thinking about our business and our customers and how we could better serve them, and that I believe in them. I think that they have what it takes to really do this at a good level, and that I'm counting on them. I'm actually counting on them to have that way of thinking, because the only way we're going to grow. I had this conversation yesterday with a colleague.
Oh, I love these. Like,
so
the yesterday conversations.
Just yesterday. Here's the conversation. As leaders, we need to hire people and have people working with us and for us that can do the job better than we could ever imagine doing. If the job can if I'm the only person that can do the job as well as it can be done, the company will never get any larger than me. But if I can hire people and coach people, develop people so that they actually could do the job far better than I could ever do it, then the organization starts to grow. But then it's incumbent on them to hire people and grow people that can do the job far better than they could ever do it. And if that's the mindset of everybody, then we really grow. So if you give a project to somebody and you have to say, but let me see it before it goes anywhere, it means you don't believe that they could do a better job than you can do. But when you can give a project to somebody and say, listen, I'd love to see what you do with this because I care and I want to be able to give you feedback, but I totally trust you. I know you're going to do an amazing job. I'm counting on you to do an amazing job. Go. When you have that belief in someone, that's when you're growing. That's when you're really growing an organization.
So I love to put things, this is how my brain works, right? I love to put things into equations. Here's the equation I just heard you say. Was growth equals trust plus accountability plus belief.
Sure. Trust. Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that funny how all of our brains work so differently?
Yeah, but that's what it is. And you have to have, I mean, for me, at least in our organization, I think all three of those things are equal importance. You can't have one without the other. There's a three-legged stool that fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about it as a three-legged stool, but you have to have that. Absolutely. And so, we've kind of just defined what growth is for you. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
So yeah, what I would add to that is that I think I am a growth mindset person. Like I can't turn it off. And that's both a wonderful quality, I think, and also probably an annoying quality. as well, as oftentimes that is the way that works. But because I have a growth mindset, I'm constantly thinking about how can I grow our organization? How can I help us? How can I help grow our customers' organizations? And how can I grow the people that work at our organization? Those three things have really been my consistent drumbeat for the last few years of when I say grow at CSS, what I mean is grow the people that work here, grow the businesses that we serve, and in return, grow our company, whether that's organic growth, new customer acquisitions, or acquiring other businesses. And we're doing all of those things.
Right. And what I love about this is that your own growth is the outcome of what you're giving to others first.
Yes, 100%. We grow our customers, we grow our people, the company grows.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you think about, how this intentionally growing the best people, how has that played such a strong role as a people strategy of intentionally attracting the best people to CSS?
Yeah, so we have just under 60 employees that work here, and we have lots that have been here more than 15 years. I bet we have a third of the company has probably been here longer than 15 years. And if you go back 15 years ago, we probably only had about 20 or so employees or 25 employees. So really the people that have been here and many of them, those that have expressed interest especially, have taken on additional responsibilities. We have a culture of looking when possible to promote and give more responsibility within. So I think when that is your culture, when you can point to, oh, you see that person, they started here in this role, then over time they did this and they grew to this, and now look, they're here. When you can point several of those people out in your organization, it allows you to go and hire the very, very best. The other thing I think is significant is that we hire for talent first, not experience. Mm-hmm. Right? We are a hire for talent first, talent and culture fit first, experience third. Are they all important? Yes, they're all important. But I'll take someone with talent and will be a good fit with our organization over someone that doesn't have talent, doesn't have the right fit, but is loaded with experiences. I'm taking talent and fit every single time.
Yeah. So when you look at talent and fit, core values goes into that, and you have to have the infrastructure to truly mentor them. So how do you tie in both the core values and the mentorship for hiring that talent and fit?
Yeah, so our core values, again, quality, integrity, and responsiveness, they're extremely important to us. And so we interview for them. We ask questions like, give me an example of when you, in your last job or in a previous position, where you saw the quality level wasn't quite up to where you thought it would be. What did you do? Right? What did you do? How did that make you feel? What changes did you? So we look for quality, integrity, and responsiveness throughout that. So that's really important that they come in. I think anyone in an interview that heard, oh, your core values are quality, integrity, responsiveness. If I were to say, does that resonate with you? Everyone's going to say yes.
Of course they are.
Who's going to say no? First of all, those can be pretty generic, right? And they also, it's an interview. They're trying to get the job. So they're going to say yes. But so we look for them to articulate what those words mean for them and to share examples of when they spotted it going right, when they spotted it going wrong, what then they do. Then once somebody joins our organization, not only do we make sure that they have a really, really strong onboarding, and by onboarding, we really mean that first 6 months, but the culture of our business really steps in. So they are greeted with a hand curated gift that arrives at their house within the first week on the job. That on our first Friday culture call, we spotlight them and make sure that they feel good that they're here. We assign someone, not like a mentor or a buddy, but like a mentor or a buddy, right? And we say, this is the person that you can go to. We do daily check-ins and weekly check-ins just to make sure, depending on the role, but you don't want someone to feel lost. Right? The very worst thing that could happen, you hire someone, they're super talented, they're a great fit, and at the end of the first week, they don't know if they did a good job or not, right? Because that first week is always awkward,
Right.
On any job. So yeah, so we do all of those things, and we're real intentional about it.
Amazing. Amazing. And those are the things, it's like, if you're listening right now and you're like, how do you do that? And you get overwhelmed by it, like, you can operationalize it. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's exactly what we do in the team retention program. I'm sitting here going, Matt, how did you know to pull that right back out? Because we got all the things there. It's so good. And you have really looked to, as you said, part of your growth strategy is acquiring new organizations. I know you've acquired several over the last couple of years. And as we're talking about culture, how do you do the integration of culture, or don't you?
Well, yeah, we do. 100% yes. So when we are looking for opportunities, when we're looking at potential acquisitions, the most important thing to me is culture. And so I've been on a number of podcasts and spoke at a number of places where I say that, and I get challenged. And so let me explain a little bit more, because people will say, well, what about the money? What about the finances? To me, that's all table stakes. Nobody's ever going to do a deal if the finances aren't right? The sellers aren't going to sell if the finances aren't right. The buyers aren't going to buy if the finances aren't right. So let's assume finances are right.
Mm-hmm.
That's table stakes. Culture is how you make it all happen, right? It is super important that during the courting stages of the acquisition, before you close, that you get to know how that organization operates. Are they a fast organization or a slow organization? Are they a formal organization or a casual? Are they in person or are they virtual or are they hybrid? How do they retain their customers for a long period of time, or do they turn them over fast and they have a model of large customer acquisition? It doesn't, all of those things are valid, but you got to know what you're getting and know what you have so that you can say, is this going to be a good match? Is it going to be a good fit? Are their people going to love us, and are our people going to love them? Can we make that work? By the way, what do they do in their culture that we might want to do in our culture? And what do we do, right? It doesn't have to be you have to assimilate to our culture, but how can we blend these together to make something even more special? How can 1 + 1 equal at least 2.5? Yep. Everyone always wants it to equal 3, but even 2.5 would be good in a lot of cases. So I really look for that. The other thing that we do is we have an integration plan and we have an integration team. And so part of that is discussing how we're going to blend the cultures together and what are we going to do. Our culture, my culture, is one of a lot of transparency. I am extremely open, extremely transparent. I share a lot with everyone on our team. So as we start to acquire businesses, sometimes that can be a little bit, oh, the previous owners weren't that transparent before. This is interesting to us. And so we can actually use it in some cases as a, we're real proud of the fact that we were just this year selected as one of the Inc. 500 best workplaces. That's one of my proudest accomplishments as a business owner. is achieving that. And we didn't do anything special to achieve it. That's who we are. So yeah, culture, number one, most important thing, and learning what they do more than just trying to impose our will, I think is the secret.
Absolutely. It's that culture fit versus a culture add, right? Like,
Right.
what is the addition to what we're doing and us for them that it integrates in a way that it elevates everybody?
Absolutely.
Amazing. So as we start to wrap up, I've got a question I love to ask everyone. And so my first question, there's actually three, but so my first one is, what is a current work bucket list item for yourself?
Current work bucket list item. Well, right now, because as we're recording this, we're sitting in the middle of August. I am working on our strategic plan for next year. So my current bucket list is to elevate our strategic plan to better than we've ever done it before. I think that we've had a certain way that we've done it over the years. And I have been for a while been thinking, I really want to reinvent the way we do our strategy. I really want to make it more simple and more executable than more large and encompassing, but I don't want it to be a document that no one ever looks at again.
So how are you doing it?
I've done a lot of reading, and I've done a lot of reading on strategic sales plans, and one of the books I refer to often is a book by Vern Harnish called Scaling Up. And in Vern's book called Scaling Up, he has what he calls the one-page strategic plan. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's getting in the direction that I want to go. I need to build a one-page strategic plan. And so that's on my list to accomplish, because I'm really good at building the 10-page strategic plan. I'm great at that. The one-page, much harder, but I'm gonna get it done.
I love how you're showing the growth in what your work bucket list item is. And so what's a personal bucket list item for yourself?
Oh, personal bucket list is I would like to ride a stage in the Tour de France.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm going to. It's on my bucket list and it's going to get done.
So how does that fit into the work strategic plan or into because here's the deal. When we can tie the two together, it's so much fun. So
I have to have work going at a high level in order to take the time to train and do.
Exactly.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it soon, very soon too.
What's your buy when?
If in the next couple of years, for sure.
Do you like how I'm, pegging this on a podcast that's going to come back to you, Matt?
You can come back. That's right.
So any last thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with today?
I'll just share this with you that I love this topic. I think it's really important. And it wasn't until I started saying the word, I think I always, as a leader, as a manager, and then also as a leader and as a business owner, I always believed in culture and I always believed in growth. Those were kind of core to me. But it wasn't until I started saying it out loud and sharing it with other people that it really became something that the company was known for. And that we started holding ourselves more accountable and more responsible for actually having that amazing culture and actually having that growth mindset. When it's said quietly, it's not always done at a big level. When it's said loudly, it gets done at a big level because everyone starts to know it's important. And the culture of an organization starts at the top. And if the leader doesn't believe in it, if it's not the most important thing to the leader, it's never going to happen at that level that you desire it to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to turn that into a challenge for our listeners, which is, what is a very specific goal you have that's related to a people strategy that you can share and start to say loudly to turn into fruition for you and your team?
Love that.
So with that, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. And for our listeners, we will see you next week. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for listening today. I'd love to connect with you. If you'd like to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn at Tracy, Traci Austin, and at our website at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. If you'd love to learn more about our process, please reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for listening and sharing your feedback with us through a review. Have a fantastic day.